Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you from the soon-to-be very, very cold Denver, Colorado.
It's already been cold.
It's been like in the 40s. It's going to be 12 on Wednesday
12,
with a low of 0.
Oh, that was the high?
That's the high. So game night is at D-Bolt, which is nice because
Close.
they stay warm.
They do, yeah.
And it's super close.
And it's super close. But yeah, definitely not going to be walking there
That's
in
what,
this kind of
but
weather.
it's also like what, we're getting like 3 inches or something? 3 to 5?
snow?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a potential snow in the
Well, that's
forecast.
Today, I guess tomorrow, whatever.
Oh, really?
What's today?
I hadn't heard
Thursday
about
or
that.
Tuesday.
Monday?
Yeah.
All I know is that I saw on Sunday my Open Snow Report, which is a forecasting site specifically for like skiing and snowboarding. So it's all covers the resorts and stuff. Said that Colorado resorts were getting snow almost every day for the next 10 days. Pretty excited about that.
So, Jeff, what board game do you want to play this weekend while Adrian's gone?
Terraforming Mars.
Work, the board game.
Doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's why I'm drinking.
In casual non-board gaming related news, the Broncos won. It was hideous and ugly and boring. By far the most boring game of the season.
You don't have to tell us about boring.
Yeah. I feel like we should just stop acknowledging these
Just have our own conversations.
Yes.
He just talks. And
Maybe he'll get the hint.
So I played.
We did all three, I think, get to play quite a few board games over the last week or so.
One for way too long.
Yes.
Oh, God.
I played Innis a couple times.
I wanted in this last night.
You did.
Yeah.
And I fucking saw it at the beginning of the turn, and I was like, I can't do anything about it.
That was the best thing about that.
No, I had no movement in my cards, so I just
Well, don't give away your only movement card.
I know. I saw that he was going to win as soon as I did that.
You're like, oh, I've made mistakes.
Yes. And I had fives, or I could have had 5 settlements or 5 sanctuaries, 5 regions, and lorded over 5 people.
That's impressive.
Yeah, if I had a deed, it'd have been great.
I got all 3. No, you can only, the deed only gets rid of 1.
Yes.
Yep. But this is good. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's short. It's tight. There's not a lot of bloat in the cards.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I do like that it's, 16 cards total?
Yeah.
And then you drop it down to 12.
But 3-player.
13, because you burn one.
Oh, yeah, 13. You always burn 1.
So it's 17 and 13.
Drops down to 13. But yeah, so you end up playing with 12 cards in any given round, which, keeps it nice and tight. All the cards are useful. There's not really any card that's like, oh, this is complete garbage. I don't want it.
No, there's totally when you have all of your guys out on the board. Anytime you get one that says add clans, that's a useless card.
You just need to fight first.
Also, don't
But
draft
if I
it.
can't move, then
that's your own mistake.
it is.
Yeah, it's your fault for drafting one that adds players when all
Nope,
yours were
I
on the
took
board.
it from him randomly.
Took it from me randomly and then gave me the one thing that could make him fight.
Because then as soon as I gave that to you, I was like, oh shit, that was my last movement card. And then I looked at your epic tale that was going to let you win, and I'm just like, well, fuck me.
Yep. Yeah. But no, I do like it. I like the artwork. A couple little minor things that bug me about the design layout, but we'll save those for a review.
It's a dudes on a map game.
Yep. And I mean, I was fine with losing that game after the absolute ass stomping I
God.
gave both you guys
Oh,
in
man.
Great Western Trail.
You tripled Adrian's score.
He did not triple my
You
score.
got 34?
I had 44, and he had like
I
100
thought you were in the-
something.
I thought you were in the 30s.
I was 5 away from getting both your scores combined. So, yep.
Yeah, that game. I knew by like the end of because it doesn't like the end of my second turn. I knew it was going to be bad for me. I was like, oh nope. Mm-hmm. Zach got off to a great start. I never once got money from you guys passing my tiles. You never once gave me money. The whole game.
You never
Did you have any
there was
tiles
always
down?
a way to bypass it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't put those tiles there.
There weren't other places to put them.
You should have put both lines. You should have had blocking ones with money, so we would have had to give you some.
Well, I would have needed money to build the other line.
Well,
No one went through mine.
that's true.
Yeah.
Hey, we just kept getting
You just
rid of those.
You just kept buying
that's
hazards.
why Zach almost had our combined score.
Yeah, because mine had fucking 4 the entire time, and I'm just like, yeah, just give me that money, please. Give it to me.
Over and over and over.
Yep. Oh, I can get rid of a hazard.
Everyone was worried about mine and not Zach's. And that's why Zach
mine
got
was
100
there
points.
at the very beginning. There's just too many rock slides. It's just way too hazardous.
I tried to get rid of them, but every time I did, they piled back up.
Because mine kept not drawing.
We also played Great Western Trail at game night on Wednesday, so this was our second play.
It was
this
my
week.
first play at game night, and then now my second play.
It is not a game night game.
It is a long
There
game
is
night
no
game.
reason it couldn't be if people would take their stinking turns.
Well,
people
there's-
take too long on that game.
Well, there's also like 40 people there and new people and
Distractions are going to happen at game night.
yeah.
Still took my turns fast. Just saying.
I took mine fast.
I was brand new.
Yeah. Well, we had 2 people that was brand new, but still, it's...
Oh, we had 3 that were brand new. You had played before?
I had watched a thing, so I was like, I knew what was going on at least. So
Paul won the one at game night, though.
he did.
So Zach is not undefeated at that game, at least.
Nope. I'm not undefeated at any game.
Might as well be.
I just have a lot of streaks that are active right now, but
Active kill streaks. Call in the chopper.
Speaking of active kill streaks, Jeff, do you want to do a Bloody Minute segment here? Just randomly throw it into the banter?
Yeah, Bloody Minutes. So I played Blood Bowl yesterday. Was it yesterday? It seems like so long ago. The Reichland Renegades played the Ulrich's Hammers. It was human on human. Violence, as there should be. I won! And it was utter decimation. A epic slaughter for the ages. He came into the game missing 2 players from the previous game's injuries. So he had only 11 guys. I had my full team's roster. He took some inducements, which means he gets some bonus stuff because my team was a lot more seasoned than his.
it was his first. It was his first season, right?
It's his first season, but he's like 4 games in.
Gotcha.
He had an incredible amount of skills for only 4 games too, which was really nice for him. But my dice were running hot. I was shattering armor and just killing and seriously injuring. Like I had 6 casualties that game.
Jesus.
Which is crazy. I killed 2, permanently -1 movemented another 2. I crowd surfed, which is when you knock someone out of bounds. 2 or 3 other guys, maybe 4. But the crowd killed 1, seriously injured another, and then the other 2 just went back into reserves. At the end of the game, it was 2-0. I couldn't get the pitch clear, which is removing all opposing models from the board because his ogre just wouldn't go out, and he had an armor 9 lineman that was really hard to break armor on.
Gotcha.
One of his inducements was a chainsaw wielding player, Helmet something or another. Helmet Krieger? No. Chainsaw just it's an immediate armor roll with +3 to the die, but on a 1, he eats his own chainsaw. He did that 3 turns in a row.
Ooh.
Yeah, ate his own chainsaw. I kept knocking him out, but he didn't do much. He kept going after my ogre over and over. So I played the delay game of I'm going to sit my guy with the ball right at the goal line and smash on his team until it's my turn 8, and then on my turn 8 I'll score. So
Gotcha.
I get the most advantage possible to just smash him into the ground because he has no way to fight back. At the half, he had 4 guys that could hit the field, and then I did it again for 8 more turns. It was brutal. It was one of the most brutal games I've ever played. His team's real fucked up.
Well, now you do have a winning season for now, right?
Yeah, I'm 2-1. I am technically second overall in season 3, but that's only because Ant has only played 2 games so far. He's 1 point behind me. Ant will probably shoot into first after he plays his 3rd game.
Gotcha.
Yep. But I'm currently 2-1-0.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on not being fuck awful this season.
So far. We'll see how the rest of the season goes.
I mean, haven't you like matched your win total for the last 2 seasons already this season?
Yes. Yes, I have. But at the end of the season, we'll be retiring all the teams and starting up with the new rules.
Gotcha.
New rules haven't changed much. It's really nice.
Cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thus concludes the Bloody Minute with Jeff.
Where I talk about Blood Bowl for like 8 minutes.
Yep.
Yep.
And we just sort of sit here and just
Like,
stare
what is
at
he
you.
talking about? I don't understand anything. It's like when you talk about football.
Yeah. Zach, we need to find you something completely inane and boring to talk about that neither of us.
Blood Bowl
give a
is not
shit
inane
about.
or boring.
Neither
But
is
I'm
football.
no, you're the one that said it, so I'm.
Something that's inane and boring for us. 'Cause I know
Okay.
football's inane and boring for you guys. Blood Bowl's relatively inane and boring for at least me. I don't know about you, Zach.
About the same as football.
So much of it goes over my head. I've
Man.
tried playing a couple times and I just don't really care for it.
Yeah, I rocked him hard. That was my game.
It's fun to be present when Ant plays because he just gets so into it.
Yeah. He will be like, man, did I fuck that guy. I fucked his Minotaur. I ripped his dick off and cut his own head off with it. little known fact, Minotaur dicks, very sharp.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yep. In case you need a
Always be
weapon.
pre- yeah, be
always
prepared.
be prepared. Yeah.
That's certainly a turn for this podcast. We are really earning that explicit rating on iTunes.
You know, if we're going to have it, use it.
Yep. A soft R or a hard R, it's both an R. So,
Fair.
They don't have an
enough.
X rating on there yet, so.
yep.
What else have you played, Zach?
Played more Feast of Odin. And how did that go for us, Adrian?
I've still only got
It
the
went
one.
excellent for you.
Yeah, it did.
not go well for me.
I remember, that score was real rough.
It was.
I had a new low.
You did. You
33
did.
points.
To
I'm
100.
racing to get 0 while still trying to get points.
Yeah, to my 120.
Yeah, you want to talk about
So-
tripling a score.
Yeah.
I've only played the one time so far.
Yeah,
a good
It's okay, but the one problem is that both me and Adrian realized, like halfway through the third round, Zach's probably going to win this one.
Yeah, we even talked about that one after. That was a good example of a game, especially like as a 2-player game, where like I don't normally like to call a game just because I'm losing, right? Like especially if somebody's doing well. Like I played really bad. Zach also played really well, to his credit. He kicked ass. I was impressed at how much, like he had no negative points at the end of the game.
Yep.
Which was impressive. So it sucks for me, like you said, like by round 3, we knew that Zach was going to win and win handily. Like I made a mistake early that really handicapped me. And so part of me wants to be like, we both realized it. Wish we could just be like, all right, well, congratulations, Zach, you win. But I can also understand, like,
I think if it was a long, like one thing. So Jeff, our 2-player game took 3 hours.
Yep.
Ours took maybe an hour and a half, and that was including setup and tear down.
yeah, it was much quicker once we knew what to do.
Yep. And I'll say, now knowing the game, it's still, there was a couple times where we sort of blocked each other, but most of the time it was just like, you blocked that really good cattle and cheap one. I'll just get a regular cattle then.
It seems like everyone is starting to spread out into the other boards
Yeah.
because you're more comfortable.
Well, that's where I made a mistake. Apparently, Zach's been reading strategies, and I hadn't. And apparently, the current strategies for Feast for Odin involves stay the hell away from Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
It's bad news bears.
Yeah. Well, he got it, and I didn't want to say anything. But then as soon as he got it, he started putting stuff. I was like, oh, he got that really shitty one. Let's see. Hey, Adrian, if you put it there, you might get some more. But yeah, it's
It's a bummer there's some
Although
bad
I've-
moves.
it's
I'm curious. I have that extra Faroe Island tile that has a little bit bigger income track and has
I would
at
almost
least
use that
one
one.
other little piece on it. It has a cabbage in that bottom corner
Yeah.
that's not in the other one. I'm tempted to give it a try and see if it balances things back out. Maybe that was a misprint that they should have left in.
Well, the problem with that one is that it has on the very top right corner a sheep. That if you cover, you can get a sheep every turn. But good luck trying to cover that entire thing in a reasonable amount of time. So every time I've seen someone get it, because they're like, "Ooh, it's a sheep."
Super good
Yeah.
if I get there, but getting there is a slog.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was getting. Yeah, I had. Did I have Iceland or Greenland?
You ended up with, I think, Iceland.
I covered all that thing up in, like at the end of the 5th round. I think I was getting 18 money. A turn.
Meanwhile, I was getting 6.
Yeah.
Fudge.
Yeah. It was
Not
rough.
explicit.
But but no, I really like Feast Road and I want to play some more. We're going to be reviewing it here in the upcoming weeks. And I'm really happy with that. That and Terraforming Mars are probably so far my two top games of the year.
Gotcha. I still want to try it with 3 players because we played it with 4, and I felt a bit of the blocking, but you still had some chances for repeating. But then 3-player, I'm curious because I want to see how much, because that one someone takes that action, no one else can take it. So I want to see how it plays at 3 because I would probably play a different 2-player game than Feast of Odin sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Typically, I would probably play something other than Feast for 2-player.
It just feels a bit too open. So
I do like it as a single-player game. I played 3 games. I haven't played it since my initial 3 when I got it over Thanksgiving, but I really did like those 3 single-player plays, and I want to do that more.
I want to see if the streak continues for single-player. So
it might. It might. Although really, like, that streak is heavily influenced by the fact that I bought Faroe Islands in the second game, which really hampered me there. And then in the third game, that was the game
where you forgot about greens
where
touching.
I forgot about greens touching. Or no, the second game was the one where I forgot about greens touching. The third game is where I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try an island this time. Ooh, Faroe's got a sheep on it. And I should have known from that play to not ever go for fucking Faroe Island.
But you forgot.
Yeah. Lessons learned.
Yep.
So, other than that, I didn't play a lot. I started Innis after Great Western at game night, but I was 2 pitchers deep by then, so I wasn't having much luck learning a new game.
I got a chance to try out my Pursuit of Happiness game, which it was all right in the beginning. It got better towards the end once I started sort of role-playing-ish the decisions that I was making in the game. But it definitely takes a while. It took an hour and 45 minutes, I think. But I think that's also because it was a game night game. And one of the guys we were playing with everybody was new, but like you could tell like one person was getting a little more AP.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That'll hurt.
Yep.
What about you, Jeff? Did you sneak anything else in that we're unaware of?
I don't think so.
Cool.
You guys played Seven Wonders Duel, too.
Oh, yeah.
How'd that go for us, Adrian?
Zach won.
Zach won again.
I won 2 games this weekend.
You did.
One of them wasn't satisfying at all. One of them actually kind of was. Innis was satisfying.
Right.
Because I felt like I was getting beat, and I've been working on not getting super sullen when I feel like I'm getting beat. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I felt like I did a pretty good job in Innis of not getting too sullen or anything. And then I was like, oh wait, I can totally snake this win. And then I drew that epic tail card, and I was like, oh, this is backup because I had the
I saw the exploration
cards, and I was like, oh yeah.
As soon as you played that exploration, I was like, then I know he's winning because you would play that movement card I gave you to attack him, and he'll just play the other one. And I was like, fuck.
Yep.
Oh god,
I could have attacked 2 different spaces.
but you didn't.
I didn't.
It felt good. I was worried when you played that attack card. I was like, oh man, if he goes for 2 of my places, I'm boned. But you didn't. You went all in on 1.
Yep.
Yarp.
All right. Well, that wraps up Banter. Banter is complete. The requisite time frame for Banter has been established.
Yep.
It is clearly whatever that time is.
Yep.
All right. So on to news and Kickstarters.
News. Pandemic Iberia is widely available for purchase right now.
It is. I think they're just doing like a single printing of it. I don't think it's going to be like after all of these are sold. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Get it.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's not just a retheme.
Note.
New mechanics.
Yeah. I have been trying to decide if I want to get it or
I will
not.
be buying it.
Oh, cool. Then.
Okay. Well, that takes care of that. I saw somebody on Twitter.
We just check if one of 3 of us is buying it. Is all right, we're good.
I don't remember who it was, but somebody tweeted Matt Leacock and was like, I'm pretty disappointed in Iberia. I've won my first 6 playthroughs. And Matt Leacock responded and was like, all right, I'm going to DM you. We're going to find a way to toughen this up for you.
I saw that too.
I'm really curious how that played out. What?
There are some people that are super good at Pandemic. They'll play at the hardest difficulty.
And then
they're just like, this is just too easy. And I'm like,
well, and you can add more epidemic cards from other versions if you so wish.
Yeah, exactly.
If you thought Legacy was too easy, go ahead and just add another epidemic card into the game.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Legacy,
we finally finished ours.
Oh, finally.
So, yep.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
We won.
We did.
We lost hard in November, the first round of November. We lost real hard. 8 outbreaks in 2 full turns.
Yep.
That's a lot of outbreaks.
On the table.
It was not
It was
good.
bad.
Don't do that.
No.
It's a good way to lose.
But yeah, no, we ended up. How many games did you guys play? Do you remember?
I do. 18.
18. Okay.
Yep.
So ours is 17. And then it seems like the consensus is like 17 to 18 games.
Yeah. If you get on more than that, you did poorly. If you do better than that, congratulations, you're pretty good.
Yeah. I know we're gonna be at some point, probably at the beginning of the year.
It'll be early January sometime.
We're gonna do Is it going to be a special episode or just a...
It'll be a special because it's going to be just full of spoilers.
All right.
So we'll
Spoiler.
do basically part 2 of our Pandemic Legacy
Yep.
discussion and review.
Hey, this means we can play Seafall now. So
Yes, and then we will now be starting Seafall now that we've completed Pandemic. And as I noticed when we were finishing Pandemic, looking at the little sheet on the back of games played, it took us over a year to finish Pandemic. So, sometime in February of 2018, you can look for our Seafall review.
Yeah. Well, I know I'd like to have us do at least a first impressions sort of thing.
for sure.
So
We went December 9th to October 2nd.
Oh,
ours was November 18th, I think, to
December 4th.
Yeah, December 4th.
3rd?
2nd,
2nd.
Friday.
That was Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the 4th was Sunday, because that was my
Yes.
mom's birthday.
Hooray. Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah.
You probably listen to this.
She doesn't.
No.
I will give her nothing.
So Pandemic Iberia is out.
Yep.
Set in Spain. It's got railroads and sea travel.
Yes.
We'll see what it's like when I get it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting it.
Yeah.
Because
I like Pandemic.
don't super love Pandemic. I like Pandemic
I got
Legacy.
Cthulhu Pandemic.
I want to play that one again.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
it's
it
an
was
okay game.
Cthulhu Pandemic they were tweeting about doing really well at. I can't remember.
That game's even more brutal than regular Pandemic.
But there's some people that find it really easy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we just had to figure out the strategy to that one versus others. So
It's, Iberia's available from all retailers, right? Not just...
yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Well,
It's not store specific like certain games are.
no.
Yeah. Cool Mini is now publicly traded in Hong Kong,
That they are.
which
Yep.
is crazy.
It is. I think it's I believe the reason they're doing it is to help increase their non-Kickstarter library and help buy licenses and help produce said games. Now, obviously, they're still going to be doing their Kickstarter ones
Of course.
because they're super successful.
As always.
But like recently, they've started having a lot of games that aren't Kickstarter.
The Grizzled.
The Grizzled, Potion Explosion. I think.
I didn't know that was Cool Mini.
Yes.
Bloodborne?
Bloodborne 2. They're doing the Godfather board game. Oh, they announced that the World of Smog. That's their new Kickstarter. It's coming in January, I think.
Rise of
and then
Mog.
Rising Sun is going to be after that. So,
World of Smog.
yeah.
Whatever that is. Coming soon to millions of Kickstarter
so-
dollars near you.
Exactly.
Yeah, World of Smog will debut on Kickstarter January 17th.
Yep.
So,
Hold on to your
Victorian
wallets.
adventure game for 2 to 5 players that takes place in an alternative England where magic and technology have taken an extraordinary turn.
Yep.
AKA, it's steampunk. Pretty standard.
I'm pretty sure.
Magic. Steampunk doesn't really have magic in it.
No, I'm pretty sure I will not be doing work while I wait for it to get to release so I can get the epic or the early bird and then see if I want to get the game or not.
Yep.
So,
Been there.
yep.
AG Destination Fun.
Oh yeah, so they had a set of 3 games. Trains, which is a deck builder, but it also has a map. Planes, I don't know what that one is, but it's not a deck builder.
But with aircraft.
It does have a map though. And then automobiles, which also has a map. And then
Sounds like
I
a
believe
theme.
it's some sort of racing thing.
Okay.
And so Destination Fun is their combo expansion pack where it's expansions for all 3 of those games.
So it's Miskatonic University-esque in its expansionness. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
So Arkham Horror had an expansion called Miskatonic University.
Oh, okay.
Which was just an expansion for all of the other expansions.
I guess, but in the sense that it's just an expansion for 3 different games. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be like if the Eldritch series released an expansion that had expansion for Mansions of Madness, Eldritch Horror, and Arkham Horror.
Yes. Or, yeah. Or it's like, so...
I can only assume people that like those games have all 3 of those games.
yeah. I know a decent amount of people... Oh, I don't personally know them, but...
You are aware of.
I am aware of people that have a lot of them. And so I have Cyclades, and then there's an expansion that's called the C3K expansion, which just basically, it works with Kemet, and it's just, you can use the Kemet minis in Cyclades, and the Cyclades minis in Kemet. So you need to have both those games in order to have that expansion to work.
So you can do Black Plague and whatever the hell that other Massive Darkness.
Yeah, that's sort of thing too. Yeah.
Similar. Yet different.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always weird when they do expansions for multiple games in one box.
Yeah.
I mean, is that common? You say that's
Not
always
really.
weird. I've never heard of that before this.
I've not heard much of it.
The one I just named.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Until this one, I've never heard of
I know
that.
the one before. Like the Kemet one is technically expansion for 2 games.
Oh.
But you need to have both games
Combo the games.
to sort of they make expansions
gotcha.
out of each other.
Well, there'll be, I guess, it's been announced. It was accidentally shown even at Gen Con. The Dead of Winter Warring Colonies.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because I remember going up and asking the guy, I was like, hey, what's that little box? Knowing like someone had already seen it and I read about it. And he's like, what little box? Wait, hold on. And then he went over and took the box down. And he's like,
Nothing.
But he gave me a wink and he actually talked to me about it.
Yeah.
Because he had realized the mistake. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, you clearly know. But, yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the secret, so that is you can have the, what is it? Dead of Winter and then Dead of Winter Longest Night, they can play together. So, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 2 copies of regular Dead of Winter or
Okay.
2 copies of Long Night. Basically, and I'm curious. I haven't heard much about the actual details, but essentially, like, yeah, you play 2 games of Dead of Winter on the same table where, like, it's colony versus colony. And that, to me, sounds awesome.
That would be a Twilight Imperium-esque scale.
Potentially.
Take over the kitchen again.
I can't wait till they actually get away from the zombies and do that space one that they were talking about.
Space one.
Space station-esque one.
Oh, that's cool.
That could also
Yeah.
be interesting. I like sci-fi.
Can there be
Yeah.
zombies on
games.
the space station?
I hope not.
Please.
Anyway, what were we talking about before?
I don't know.
I think you were about to go into your bloody minute. I think that's what was happening,
Was it
right?
No,
Blood Bowl.
that wasn't at
It was
all.
about Blood Bowl.
No, we got massively
chainsaw.
sidetracked from AEG's multi-game expansion.
Speaking of Guillermo del Toro, Rob Daviau has announced a new game called Mountains of Madness.
I got you're going with that.
Yep,
so.
because Guillermo del Toro was going to make a movie, Mountains of Madness, and then
Didn't.
there's almost no details on it. It's going to be at Essen October 2017 for its debut. It's a Cthulhu dexterity and possibly party-esque game. Some
Well, I'm glad that it's
real-time mechanics.
I'm glad that it's just not like another version of Elder
Cthulhu
Torah.
Legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. But it seems like
It had to
lighter-
come with 60 characters because all your guys would be going insane all the time.
that would be brutal.
Yep.
Almost no details on it yet, but details coming soon. I mean, Rob Daviau's real good at what he does, so that's hard to say.
Yeah,
Kickstarters.
Oh, was that it for news?
That's it for news.
that's it for news. I agree.
Yep.
Before we move into Kickstarters, we did get an email from one of our listeners, Andrew, and he gave us a handy little tip for our Kickstarters that we're going to attempt to implement here. Basically, he said that we'll mention the name of a Kickstarter, and then we'll talk about it for a couple minutes, and he'll get all excited about it, and then we move on to the next one, and he's like, wait, shit, what was the name of that Kickstarter? And he has to like rewind back to hear the name of it. So he asked if we would, maybe at the end of talking about these Kickstarters, if we would reiterate the name of said Kickstarter. So we're going to try and do that. We'll see how it goes. We'll probably mess it up a little bit.
As long
but
as we
we'll
don't
keep
forget,
working on it.
because we might just
You'll
forget
just
about
edit
it,
in
too.
us yelling the name. We are going to start off with the large monster in the room, Kingdom Death 1.5, still making $6.9 million with 13.8 thousand backers and 32 days to go.
Yes.
And their
That's-
highest level of 1666, they have just like every time they fill up all 666, they just add another one and add another one. They are currently in their third 1666 level backing, which is insane.
It is.
It's just making more and more and more and more money. We personally know at least 2 people that are getting it, but maybe at the $200 level, not so much the $1,600 level.
It's fine. We don't need to see those penis skirts, so it's all good.
Yeah.
There's so much for me to not like about that game. It's ridiculous.
I do want to try that game out whenever Greg or
CJ.
gets it.
Yep,
so.
CJ or Bob. Isn't Bob getting it too?
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no, Bob's getting Massive Darkness. Never mind.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Kingdom
Death.
Death.
Kingdom
Making
Death.
more
All the
and more
money.
money. We'll see in a month how much more money it actually makes.
Yep.
There's another newer Kickstarter called Quodd Heroes. Mm-hmm. It's a sort of programming cube-based movement game.
They call it tumbling, and so like you have different movement options or just actions.
Well,
you can,
so imagine a D6, and each one of the numbers corresponds to a different movement.
Sorry, hold on a second. I get it. Okay.
Shut up, Zach.
All right. I got a D6 in my mind. Okay, go for it now.
Yeah, so...
Wait,
so,
no, that was D4. Sorry. Okay, we're good.
I hate you so much.
I got D16s in the new version of Blood Bowl if we want to imagine those.
But no, so each side of the D6 corresponds to a different action that you take. And so you can start on your little square and then you tumble to one of the 4 adjacent squares orthogonally. And whatever side is now facing up, you do that action. Which, I don't know.
All the models look good.
Yeah,
interesting.
I like that they look like D6s, but like
They're like people.
they're mini versions of it. And I don't mean I'm miniature, sculpted versions.
Yeah. Like turn a D6 and sculpt a face into it.
Although,
Yes.
like, looking at those, like, I wonder if those are just
Mocks?
mock-up things.
I don't know. We'll
Because I don't
see.
know how, like, looking at those faces, I don't know. Like, it would be all wonky and wobbly, and there's nothing to indicate, like, which side has which action on it. It'd be...
It's a good
That
campaign
seems
video.
Yes.
I'm sure there's actual pictures of their stuff on there somewhere.
Yeah, I saw. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I saw some people talking about it on Reddit, and they seem to have liked it when they were playtesting it.
It's got some. It seems like a. I'm not sure if it's a programming game.
It's like programming, but maybe a not as random-ish one because you can get like pets and abilities and food and stuff
You
that
can
helps you
move
augment.
the terrain around.
Yeah.
The video little thing they had on the Kickstarter, for whatever reason, something about the way the board and moving around and doing things gave me a very Mechs vs. Minions vibe. And I don't know if that was just the way you're moving around a board and like fighting stuff.
Large
I don't know.
squares of things.
Something about it seemed.
Yeah,
I got a Mechs vs. Minions vibe.
But they have cooperative, but they also have
competitive
too. So
which is a big change.
Yeah.
Cube based movement.
So I don't know. Well,
we'll see. It's brand new. It's got 20 days left. It's half of its goal. It's at $32K of the $60,018 goal.
It might just be because it's a Canadian, so we're seeing the U.S. version of it. So.
Gotcha.
Those damn exchange rates.
Yes. Quodd Heroes. QUODD. Quad.
yeah, because they had to spell it weird.
Start the reactor.
So real quick before you move on, I just touched this little button here on the Kickstarter, and so yes, turns out $60,018 American is 80,000 Canadian.
Ah, that's a very almost equal exchange rate.
I mean, sure.
80 to 60 minus 0.01.
I mean, that's like 75%.
Well, I meant like even. Like the 80,000 equal went to almost 60,000.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were just like, it's like almost even trade. What?
Not even trade. The percentage is very even.
Yes.
Sure. Whatever numbers that.
All right. So yeah. So on to the next Kickstarter.
You just keep digging yourself deeper.
That's fine. I'm not a math magician. Feudum. It's a Kickstarter game.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I just backed Feudum today, as those of you who follow us on Twitter may have seen. It is a worker placement, hand management kind of game. It looks like it's going to be similar to Race for the Galaxy in that you will have a small deck of cards, and then you get to choose which ones of those that you want. You pick 4 out of this hand, out of the small little deck, and then those are the 4 actions that you can do that turn. And you're going to use those 4 cards and the actions on them to manipulate your pieces on this board, basically setting up little feudal societies. And like basically whoever goes to an area first gets to be the lord in the castle, and then everybody else are their serfs and get less rewards from it. Also, much like Race for the Galaxy, when you play a card, all the cards have a basic action that you get to do. And then there's like a more advanced action where if you qualify for it, you get to do it. Like if you have this specific thing already on the board, you can do the advanced action. They say it's going to play in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which for what all's there, if it can play that quick, I think I'll really, really like it. I expect it to be longer. But I don't know. I think it looks really good. I like the art style. I like the little videos they've got on their Kickstarter. I think they were kind of humorous. They reuse a lot of sound effects, though, between the 2 main videos they have on there. But I don't know. I'm interested in it. I backed it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the art style is definitely unique. I can easily see some people not liking it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I got about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through one of the rule videos I was watching, and I was just like, Oh God, I can't pay attention to this anymore. It might have just been the way that video was. There just seems to be a lot going on in that game. I've heard some people say it works sort of organically, so I'm reserving judgment until I play it, I guess. But I definitely did. Watching all that stuff, I was like, oh, I'm fine. And I saw there's some dice in there. It's like, ooh, there's you don't even roll them. It's all about
you don't roll them at all. It's just whichever side's up is like what that character is. So you have 6 different characters.
Yep.
You can turn one of your 3 dice to represent them. It's gotten some praise from a couple people that I follow who I like and kind of respect their opinions on board games, especially when it comes to Euro-esque board games. And so I'm interested. I bit the bullet and backed it a little bit before we started recording here. And so definitely check it out. It's got 10 days to go. It is well funded. It is 164,000 of its 49,000 goal.
And they have some add-ons and stuff that you can do.
Yeah, they've got 3 expansions that have been unlocked. And then they've got a bunch of bonus stuff that's going to come with the base pledges now. You can also go for higher pledges to get things like actual metal money or fancier wooden pieces instead of some of the punch board.
Love that metal money.
Metal money makes games so much better.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's Feudum. Feudum, since we're spelling the weird ones like quad, and Feudum spelled, I don't know, a little bit weird.
And so that was KINGDOM
Space
DEATH.
I'm pretty sure Kingdom Death Monster is
1.5.
Yeah.
Because if you search Kingdom Death Monster, it's going to come up with the old one.
Yep.
And you're going to get real confused why there's only $2 million.
I'm pretty sure that Google's smart enough that if you type in Kingdom Death Monster, somewhere in those top results are going to be.
It's true, but it is not the top one because I've done it many times.
Yeah.
So that wraps up Kickstarter. For this episode, we are going to well and truly combine our review and our discussion into. They're still going to be distinct, but they're both going to cover actually the same game. We this Saturday had an 11 and a half hour game.
So that does include setup, which
and
took
teardown,
which took about an hour. Teardown took like 20 minutes, and then like a 30 to 45 minute lunch. So
yes, and several breaks because we also anyway, the game we're talking about, we played an 11 and a half hour game of Twilight Imperium 3rd edition with both the Shattered Empire and Shards of the Throne expansions.
6-player
game here at my apartment. We also, with this one, I set up a GoPro on time-lapse mode to get a time-lapse of the board, and then I had a camera set up in the other room, and we kind of did a little play-by-play where if something major happened, we went and talked about it and discussed our plans and inevitable betrayals. But so
yeah, Jeff.
Oh yeah, me.
So
I don't, you and me were cool the entire time.
We were.
Yeah.
So for the review, we're going to review the game. We've all played it several times. It was the only game that appeared on all 3 of our top 10 lists from our top 10 episode a few episodes back.
And that was 3, 2, and 1. So
yeah. So it was the top 3. It was in the top 3 of all 3 of our lists.
I'm curious how that would rank now.
It would change. So we're going to review that. We've all played it a bunch. We're going to do just a base review of the game itself. And then the discussion, we're going to discuss this actual big 11 and a half hour playthrough that we did of it and some of the things that happened in it and interesting situations that occurred and why it took 11 and a half hours instead of the 6 that we were expecting.
Well, we had to yell at each other for a while.
And often, yes.
And often.
This is the game that you definitely can get emotions.
Heated.
Yes.
Heated.
Open the window. It's getting hot in here.
So, all right. So moving on to the review portion of this. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing Twilight Imperium 3rd edition. It was released in 2005, and the expansions were released in 2006 and 2011. It was designed by Christian Peterson and published by Fantasy Flight Games. It plays 3 to 6.
It plays 3 to 8.
With the base set, and then it expands to 3 to 8. The playtime says 180 to 240 minutes. That is a damn
Per
lie.
player.
Set aside at a minimum 6 hours with experienced players. More if you have unexperienced players.
Or you elect bullshit laws.
Yeah. The other note on this is Twilight Imperium is pretty widely available. The expansions are harder to find right now.
but some may prefer just the base game.
Yep. So keep that in mind.
Weirdos.
All right. Zach, would you like to give us an overview of the game?
Yes. So Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition is an epic empire-building game of interstellar conflict, trade, and a struggle for power. Players take the roles of ancient galactic civilizations, each seeking to seize the imperial throne via warfare, diplomacy, and technological progression. Now, for actual rules, you can just go read it yourself because there's a shit ton of them, and I don't feel like saying those.
Yeah. There are so much minutia and like tiny little things that govern how everything works.
It's a dude on a map game and a technology game and a political game and just
Resource
everything.
management
Dice
game,
chucking,
a hand
resource
management game.
A war game. Yeah.
It's literally everything.
Yeah.
It is
Except deck building.
Ameritrash, the game.
Yes. Exactly. Probably why it's my number one.
And probably why it is going to slip on my next top 10 list.
Go down to 3. Or was your 3 before on yours?
I think it was 3 before.
Okay,
on
so it'll
mine.
go to 4. Good to know.
Mine was 2.
It's going to go more than 4. There's been at least 2 games that I've played since that list.
Yeah.
that are jumping up there.
Yeah, absolutely. So 11 and a half hours. It was
Yes.
a long, long game.
Yes.
I'd call it probably 8 hours of actual playtime.
Yeah, like I
Yes.
said, there was a fair amount of other stuff because we decided, that we have the podcast, and we want to try and branch out into other things. I decided to try and make a video. I'm going to be editing that over the next few weeks.
Yep.
Look for it maybe in January, unless all the stuff is just garbage, in which case you'll never hear about it again.
Right.
Just like Time Stories.
Yeah.
Just like Time Stories. But so that took a fair amount of time, having people go in the other room and talk, and then we had to wait for them to do things and take actions. And there were a couple major rule disagreements
Yes.
that came up.
That's a good word for it.
At least 2 of them. And those took some time while we looked things up. 2-3 people with each of the 3 rule books, and then the other 3 people on their phones, like
to the internet.
on the Geek.
So I do want to say that we have played this game in a single night before. It was a 4-player game, and I think we finished it in 4.5 or 5 hours. It was at your old apartment.
I don't remember playing it in my old apartment.
We did.
Huh.
We did. We played it on a Friday night, and we finished Friday night.
Oh, that was like one of my first playthroughs
Yep.
of this game. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, like you said, it can be a short game of 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
A short epic scale.
yes.
We've also got a 6-hour game in on a regular Saturday where we
Yes.
took a whole day for it, but it went pretty quick. And we've also had 14-hour games. Of
Yes.
it.
It's still
with new
no
players.
campaign for North Africa.
No, that's not. Yeah, that was at 1,400 hours. I think
1,500 hours.
Yep.
8 players.
Yeah. I thought it was like 8 players per team.
Yeah. Anyway.
Like 16 or something like that. Anyway, for me, I would say the sweet spot for this game is 5 to 6 players.
Yeah.
Because 4 players, everybody gets you have 8 different strategy cards, and
And everyone gets 2.
everyone gets 2 with 4, so it sort of
Yep.
hampers it. But also with 5 or 6, you have either 2 or 3 of those unused strategy cards getting bonus tokens, which we'll get to that later, Jeff. We'll get to that later. But with
disagreement
7 or
one.
8 players, 8 players especially, it just takes so goddamn long.
Yeah. Our longest game was an 8-player game.
And then we just stopped because it was we
finally were
well,
just
that was we're like, oh, we can do 2:00, and then it was like 1 a.m. and we're just like, oh god, we're all at like maybe 7 points.
Yeah,
we
it was like, all right, we're gonna
we
end
have
it
to
after
work
this round.
tomorrow.
We're gonna end it after this round. We're done. Yeah, because we played on a Sunday, and since then, since that one, we've only ever played on a Saturday when we could start before noon.
Yes.
Just in case. We thought we'd be done by 8 on this one, and we weren't.
Yes.
Well, so that's all our background on it. Games we've played.
Yeah.
Kind of initial thoughts.
Jeff, you had only played the base game, right?
I own both expansions. I don't remember ever playing with any expansions, but
Gotcha.
I had probably played it 6, maybe 7 times, just the base game.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And we have both played it about 6 or 7 times, and only with both expansions.
Yeah.
So
Varying parts of those expansions have been added. Sometimes we played with mercenaries,
Yes.
sometimes without. We've never played with mines.
no.
So
We've always played with representatives. We've always played with mechanized units, and then
have we always played with mechanized
Well,
units?
we didn't really. I don't think we just used them that much. So until we realized that they could sustain damage and roll 6 dice that hit on 6s,
Yeah.
or 2 dice that hit on 6s.
Flagships have always been used. Race-specific
Yes.
technologies have always been used. A few things like that. We've used all the races every time.
Yeah.
So
Minus a small selection.
Yeah.
Well, 2 this time, 1 because it was just going to make them longer, and then the other one because it's just sort of it's the shittiest race.
Let's make this game longer.
Yeah.
So for actual review, kind of point by points.
Yep.
We'll start off with components.
Great. It's an Ameritrash game that has everything.
Yeah.
I love the artwork. So if anyone ever wants to see really, really bad artwork, go look at Twilight Imperium First Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at that box. It is gross.
Hideous.
Yeah.
Second one, slightly better, but still pretty. Ugh. That 3rd edition box, though,
It
oh
looks
my god,
phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone's player cards
Totally
are
unique.
giant, and they have great artwork on them. And it even has the story of
On the back, and it's in depth.
It
Like
is.
the history of your race over thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when we learned, like, originally we saw the University of Jolnar, and they're like, oh, they seem pretty cool. Oh, yeah, those, the Muat people, they totally were, they enslaved those people.
Yeah. Yeah, the universities are basically responsible for the fall that
Yeah.
collapsed the empire that was ruling the galaxy in
Yep.
peace and prosperity and threw us into this massive, 12-way civil war.
The Winnu were like the steward race
Exactly.
of the ruling Lazaks, and that's why they have special powers that can let them just go right to the center
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Clan of Sar were the space janitors. Who
Space
went around
werewolf janitors.
went around
Thank
cleaning
you.
They
everything
don't
up.
turn into people.
I don't care.
They're space wolves.
Don't care. They're werewolf people.
Not
I don't
werewolf.
care. They're werewolf
They
people.
look like werewolves.
They look like werewolf people.
but they don't look like wolves.
They don't look like wolves. They look like werewolves.
But yeah, so there's all kinds of in-depth information on the races, their history, how they play. All the races have unique abilities and unique powers.
And not like minor. Every race plays differently.
yes.
Every race has unique tokens.
Yes.
The only thing that is not unique between races is the
ships.
Ships side,
Yes.
like the configurations.
Yeah, and then also in that sense of there are races that favor other ships. So even if you all start with the same ones, like
Some ships could be better.
the L1 Z1 Mindnet, they're going to go heavy dreadnoughts. The Naru are going to go heavy with the fighters. The Embers of Muat are going to War Sun the fuck out of you because they start with War Sun technology.
That must be nice.
Yeah.
The only problem with them is that their advantage lessens the longer the game goes, because then once other people get War Sun technology,
You're on equal footing.
Yeah.
Some races are good at combat. Some races are bad at combat. Some races are. There's literally a race for everything.
What do you think of the ship minis?
So
Good.
They are good. This is something where this was one of the games I played early when I got into the hobby. And I was blown away. Like, holy shit, look at these things. Now that I've played a bit more and I've seen some games, especially recent games that have really went over the top, I'm really excited for what they can do with 4th edition.
I know.
I would
If
like
that ever will exist.
Yeah.
if it will ever exist. I would love to see. There's been a few games where even though everybody has the same ship, they all have unique minis. So like the dreadnoughts all might look a little bit different. Or the one that I really wish was different was the capital ships.
The flagships?
Flagships, yes.
All right.
Now, the reason, I understand why they're not unique. And the reason is because the colors don't actually correspond to a specific race.
That is correct.
And that's why they are all the same.
There are also so many races at this point that there would be so many different minis that it would be infeasible to have that many different ships.
But really, if you did, even if they were all unique sets, and then you just picked the same thing, you pick a color, and now your set of blue is different than green, and green isn't necessarily tied to one specific race. It's just a unique set of ships that any race could play.
Like what is it? Eclipse, their ship 1 pack or whatever.
Precisely.
I get that.
I'm just longing for shipping of my Fantasy Flight holiday
Yeah,
now.
I think it's also just because of how many ships came in that too. That
It's probably not feasible. I get that.
And they were all spool, or what are those things? Are they called spools? The plastic sprue. That's what it is. They all came on sprues, and you had to pop them off.
I forgot about sprues for that game.
Yeah, and I know it happened to Bob, but it also happened to me when I had my copy. I totally was a carrier. I was trying to break it, and I just broke it in half.
Gotta have model clippers, guys.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But no, so the minis, they're still even dated as they are, are still really good.
And an epic amount of them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of miniatures in this game, and it's awesome.
I just want to go ahead and say, for this game, whenever I tell someone I play board games, and they're like, "Oh, you mean like Monopoly or something like that?" I say, "Oh, we play some other ones." let me show you how crazy they can get. And I show the 7-player game we were playing at David's old house, just on 2 fucking 3x6 tables, and just it is covering the entire thing with just minis and all our boards and everything, and everyone just goes like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
At work, I will regularly show epic games of Twilight Imperium.
Yeah, so the components they're really good.
Yeah.
Bob's copy's been played,
Significantly.
by us a half a dozen times at least, if not more.
And he's probably played it a dozen before that, and multiple times beer has been spilt on it, and it's
Coffee
still,
on this game.
and it's still you can't really
Immediately
tell
before we started.
Yep. And I just love how every card has flavor on it too.
Yes. There are a lot of repeat cards, but
Flavor text.
But I mean, are you talking about multiple sabotages and stuff like that? I think that's also because of how many cards there are too. That would just be infeasible.
An incredible amount of cards in this game.
Yes.
you won't.
Some better than others.
We still, on this game, after a half dozen plays, we were seeing cards that we had never seen before.
This is a game where every game could be unique for dozens and dozens and dozens of plays.
I hate to harp back to our last playthrough, but I just like that we played my favorite law in the entire game, or just we voted on my favorite politic the entire game, and also, at least for now, the worst one.
The worst card.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they have so many different ranges of all those
And
things.
sometimes it's just out of your control.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why you voted yes for it.
we'll get to that.
I know.
So rules and rule books.
There are
A lot.
a lot. Most, okay. I would
But
say
it is well laid out.
yes. I would say 75% of the game is really is really sort of, at least for me, intuitive in terms of how to build and stuff like that.
It's going to be rough if no one in your group has played. You
God.
really want to find at least one experienced
Yes.
player to kind of guide you through your first play.
For me, when I think of playing Twilight Imperium, I just go, oh, that's not a hard game to play at all, but that's just because I know the game.
Yeah.
And we all came into it with that.
Yes. But I can definitely see, every time we've taught new people this game, I'm always just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this.
And some things interact a little bit weird. There's movement, but then there's transfer actions, and then there's retreats, and then there's build actions, and then there's this, and there's that, and
then
things
there's
interact weird. and-
misprints and stuff that does not help.
Yeah. And then there's production and capacity, and you can only make so many different units, and it's based on the green number that's on the planet +2. But if you have this tech, it's +3.
Yep. But then you go ground forces and fighters. That's a 2-to-1, but that only counts for your. Yeah. There's a whole lot of minutia, like you
This
said.
game is a textbook example of why I dream of, hopefully in the somewhat near future, 3D projection tables that can handle all the computing and number crunching behind it, and you still get to move things around and actually gather around a table to play.
Yeah.
Tabletop simulator, virtual reality, Twilight Imperium.
Yes. Precisely.
All right. So we just got to get $800 for the
all
Vive.
still in the same room.
Yeah.
$1,200 desktop computer.
Yep.
And then every player have one of those.
Yeah. Currently not feasible, but
And then
maybe
probably
someday.
3 air conditioners for that room.
It's winter. We'll play it outside.
Yep. Yeah. The rule book has a lot in it, but also because of all of those cards and all of those unique circumstances, even like I said, we've played it half a dozen times. At least half a dozen times last game. We still had to look stuff. Oh, what do we do in this specific instance?
There were still two big arguments that we couldn't. Well, one of them, it turns out, if we actually just looked at the most recent fact, it was very clear what the answer was.
Yeah.
The other one, I still don't think we've seen a satisfying answer. We'll get to those when we discuss this playthrough, but there's still big discussions and arguments and almost fights over some of these rule disputes. So yeah, and the nice thing is that this is a game that has an amazing community. There's a pretty active subreddit for Twilight Imperium. Board Game Geek has a ton of player aids and print-offs and things. Highly recommend.
And it has
going through and getting
so many
maps
too, because this is a hex-based game. You can make your own map. It usually
randomize.
Yeah, usually it has like Megatol Rex, which is the center of the galaxy, and then you just sort of build all your stuff around it in a spiral pattern. But then we've played it where we've had 3 galaxies, and then we had
was a fun one,
a central galaxy that was that's where Megatol Rex was. But it was great because then it became us 3 versus these 3 versus these 2. We got super, we really felt that our galaxy is going to win. So we made super friends with our guys, and then we just
League of Super Friends.
Yes, it was great.
The worst thing about that one was the way some of the initial objectives and things are. Like we just really had to trust each other and work together. You need to control a system adjacent to a home planet. Well, we're part of A galaxy,
exactly.
So we'll work together. Yeah. B galaxy over there, fuck those guys. Yeah. And C galaxy, they're not even worth mentioning.
Yeah. I heard they don't like the things that we like and hate the things that we do like.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a ton of different amazing resources that help you with all of that rules overhead.
This is, for me at least, this is probably the game with the most variable setup that you can have.
I can't think of one that's got more.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially with all the expansions.
Yeah, and all the expansions, there are so many different modules. Like, we don't even use a couple of them because they'll make the game take longer.
Yep.
But, we use the representatives, we've used the mercenaries, we've used the mechanized units, and
ancient technologies.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we've got a few things that we definitely don't even play quite by the rules. Like the way we put things out and handle a few different minor things.
Like the end of the game.
No, we all agreed that Adrian won that one.
Yep. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
there is no ties in Twilight Imperium.
There are no ties. Moving on from rules and everything, gameplay. And this is where the game is fantastic because this game, more than any thematic game that I play, Ben, I get into it. Like, there's the right mix of combat, politics, and science that it is a quintessential 4X game made into a board game where, like, you're getting into intense political arguments and bribes and betrayals and assassinations and everything. And
do you want to get someone on your bad side? Assassinate one of their representatives in a political thing. It doesn't matter. It's just like, we're voting on something. I don't care. Well, I'm just going to kill your guy, Jeff. And then all of a sudden, just like, Zach, I just want to destroy your entire race. I want to wipe it from the history books. And no one will know that you had existed.
It's even worse, though, when it is an agenda you care about. And you're like, oh, man, I need this to fail. And I have the deciding vote. Oh, I'm dead. I don't get a vote at all.
I want to press charges.
And I do love that they have cards. Like, I had never seen the play proxy before.
I'd seen the proxy one. I hadn't seen press charges before. That was a new one for me.
There's a card for everything.
Yes. Yep. And a bunch of those cards too they'll even say, well, if you're not playing with this variant, it just counts as a trade good.
Yep.
So,
Congratulations.
I do like that they have that though.
Yes.
Because like I said, I don't think I'll ever play with the mines.
No.
And so every time I see those cards, basically it's just about they're really defensive. Yeah.
Not that we'll get into that. Everyone was too goddamn defensive that game. Anyway.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to add more defensive.
Yeah.
You put a little triangle down and you move your guys. And then you might fight or you might produce. And then it's someone else's turn. But how that turn goes is based on the strategy you choose.
Yes.
Those strategies can be really good to not so great.
Yep. But then they also have a turn order in there too. And so if you really want to go before, like say I really want to go before you, and Adrian took 1, even though 2 may not be the greatest for what I want to do, I'm like, I have to go before Jeff because I need to attack him before he attacks me.
Yeah. Or before he reinforces. Like,
exactly.
I see this opening. Yep. I don't want him to close it. I need to go first so that I can exploit that.
Yes. That's one of my favorite things about the Nalu, though. They always have initiative of 0.
Yeah, so they're always first.
They're always first no matter what they take.
I like how there are 3 different strategies with all the expansions that you can choose for each one, I think.
Yes, there is as few as 2, as many as 5.
Wow.
Yeah, depending on which one it is.
Yeah, and so you pick, 1 through 6?
I went through 8.
1 through 8. And then you pick, like Zach said, some of those, there's might be 2 different copies of 1, and I don't know which ones have which numbers.
Well, so it's like there one of the ones is you can get more command counters, and you pay 1 or you pay 2 to 1 to get more command counters. There's also a number 4 that allows you to get command counters, but you pay 3 to 1. And so it's always like, well, if you get one of those, you're not going to get the other one because that's just too many command counters.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice balance where you can be like, okay, well, I want to do this. I want to have politics, but I want to use the representative, so we're going to use this card. And so we use this one that had the command counters, so we're not going to use the 4 that has it. And then
and this is all setup.
This is all
this
setup.
is before you even play the game.
This is one of the reasons why setup takes so long for us, is because every time we're like, what kind of game do we want to play?
Because it can absolutely change the whole game.
Do we want trade to be really free and open where everybody's always going to get trade goods? Or do we want trade to be like restrictive where we're going to be fighting over our trade agreements? And like if you break a trade agreement, that's like an act of war.
Yeah.
So there's
use the trade agreement where you can hire mercenaries.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want mercenaries in, you pretty much have to take the trade that has mercenaries on it. But it does, going back to what you were saying when we were talking about rules, this game is variable setup to the nth degree. It is just a ridiculous amount of options.
And there's even a simulated like early turns too, where you can just, instead of just starting, you can actually start and take like 3 fake turns, where you just sort of spread out a little bit.
Build up.
So you start with extra stuff.
Because the first, for sure the first turn, sometimes the first 2 or 3, there's almost no combat. The only interaction really is maybe doing some political voting, which kind of sets the tone of the game itself, depending on what politics are available.
Yep.
Pass laws.
And then it's once you hit that third turn, people start getting to where they can make a strong push for their initial objectives. They can start really going for the preliminary objectives that everybody has access to, and people are starting to think about pushing into resource-rich center tiles and things like that. And the friction starts to kick in for sure by turn 3.
Yep. And then there's a lot of times where you're like, especially when you want to, it's like that third turn, and if you haven't gotten your preliminary objective yet, you're just like, can I just be right your home base real quick? I just for a turn. I just need to be right there.
I just need to touch it.
Just touch it.
Just a whisper away from your home base.
You can trust me.
Yeah, and then that's where you're just
I only
like,
got a carrier and 1 ground force. I'm not gonna hurt you.
Yep.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
But then it's always all right. You can do that, but if you don't leave the next turn, I have a thing. I have a huge army that's 2 away from your base. I'm going to come kill you.
You will be dead.
Yeah,
I will murder you in real life.
Yes.
So I think that kind of covers pretty much our normal kind of review.
Just set aside half of a day and watch a gameplay video. Because this game it's so much in so many different ways.
It's such a roller coaster too of
emotions.
Yes, of emotions. It's
oh my god, yes. Like I said, there are a ton of great resources. The Twilight Imperium subreddit is actually pretty active. There's regular posts about like, I'm diving in for my first game. What tips can you give me? And people lay out a bunch of tips. And
so I do have one question.
Yes.
How do you feel about the Distant Suns in the Distant Suns and the domain counters? So those are the ones that you put on the planets. So when you're exploring,
and the ones in empty space.
Yes. So
a random positive or negative effect.
Yes.
When they're done right, which I don't necessarily feel that we did them quite right in this one. Like Bob said that he split them up. I don't know how much he actually did. Like, so in the past, like the previous game prior to Sunday or Saturdays, the last game we played, I was the one who divvied it up, and I worked with Bob, and we made definitely a group of heavy positive, heavy negative, and a group of light positive, light negative. And the heavy positive, heavy negative went in the center, like the middle area and around like major areas. And then the lighter ones went around everybody's bases. That way, you weren't going to get wrecked coming out of your start. Because one of the first times we played, we just mixed them all up. And there was somebody who, like, their first turn moving out of their home planet.
And it was also their first time playing the game, too.
With their big fleet, hit the supernova one, which is just you turn it over, and then that system is now a supernova.
And everyone's dead.
And everything that you moved into it is fucking dead.
And they ended up just quitting about 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I don't think they've played since.
No. And I was just like, okay, I sort of understand that. That's
do not blame
that's a shitty way to, but it's also, it definitely sucks, but it's also so great when you're like, oh, I found, trade goods. I found a tech. I found I found these cruisers and I found these extra things.
Yep. So yeah, when they're balanced right to where you roughly know that it's either high risk, high reward, or low risk, low reward, depending on where you're moving on the map. I prefer that when you can trust it to be well balanced.
Yeah. How do you feel about those versus not using them at all? I know we have. Okay,
use
good.
them.
Okay, good.
Use them.
Good, because I know that you're not. You have definitely.
Leaned towards hating random.
Yes, and so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no. So this is an excellent example of a game where, like, if I'm going into Twilight Imperium, especially having played it, half dozen times now, I know what I'm getting into.
Okay,
and those give enough incentive, because without those, you get off to the side planets that nobody ever goes to, or like empty systems of space that nobody cares about. They give you a reason to go care and explore those things, which can then drive interesting conflict, interesting stories that happen in this game.
And I like it just because it means that people have to prepare for risk. Because it's like when I have 4 guys and I'm sending it on 2 planets, like if they weren't there, it's just like, oh, I just put 2 on each, or I just send 2 guys, I get it. Now it's like, oh, I'm sending 2 guys, or I should send 4 guys so that there's 2 on there, but then I should also have like an escort in case fighters. And so when you flip them over, you're just like, oh God, is this going to fuck me up? Okay, no, it's good. It's good. Or it's nothing. Or, oh, sweet, extra votes.
Yeah. So like
there's ways to mitigate that.
Yes.
As long as the distribution across the board is well balanced, so that you can make the decision like, okay, this is an outer ring planet. By all accounts, this should be a low risk, low reward. I'll send 1 guy. If there's not a high chance that I'm going to lose this guy, versus like, this is a planet adjacent to the center of the board. I need to send 3 people minimum to guarantee I get this.
I could also see a house rule of like, if it's one of the planets adjacent to you, maybe get one sort of not mulligan, but like a cancel. Like if it's a too fucky one, just because I don't want someone to.
I don't want to see it. As funny as it is, in retrospect, a great story to tell about the guy losing his entire starting fleet on the first turn of the game. That sucks
to a supernova.
Exactly
when you play, and that's why that's where I think the making sure that like the supernova should never have been in that position, because you should have put the supernova in one pile and the lighter stuff in another pile and had them in different parts of the map, so that outer rings are relatively safe, inner rings are dangerous, and plan accordingly. So.
But that's really the only random part besides the combat dice rolls.
Dice rolls for combat, all kinds of card draws that are random. There is a lot of random in this game.
There's not enough card draw to really...
Yeah. But then it's also like there are sort of ways to mitigate, like
the combat's heavily mitigatable.
Yes, exactly, because there's text that can help all your ships, and then you build to your strengths.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're the pirates, you're going to get those cruisers because those allow you to take shots early. Yeah. And like I said, with the dreadnoughts, with the L1, Z1 Minet and all that stuff.
The worst, and this goes back to those little planet and space tokens, is when you end up in a 2v2 ground forces battle that hit on like 9s on a D10. And it's like, all right, roll. No hit. All right, roll. No hit, no hit.
Just bring one mechanized unit and just destroy everything.
Yeah.
Roll literally over everyone.
But yeah, so I guess real quick, final thoughts.
I love the game.
It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
It's one of the best out there. One of the most complex out there.
For Ameritrash games, Adrian, how do you feel?
Well, so go ahead and get your thoughts.
Okay.
I love this game. I've owned it for 11-ish years. I had played it many, many, many times. It's a game that I always enjoy. I'm not sure I enjoy the expansion editions as much, specifically representatives and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know if I could play without those.
I wouldn't.
But it's, I enjoy a lot about the game. If only I could find a game that was shorter.
I can't think of one.
Yeah. It's just so incredibly long that it's hard to be like, to get it out regularly enough.
Some people say like, oh, you could play Eclipse, and it's like, that's a different game.
It's a very different game.
Yeah, it's a lot more Euro-y.
I love 4X games of all types, and it's really hard to say to replace this with anything, but it's too special occasion-y to do anything with it.
Okay. Yeah, we don't play more than, like, even when we were playing it the most, it was maybe 4 times a year.
Yeah. So
you get your fill, and then you're like, I can put this aside for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't need this in my life right now.
all right, Zach, anything else you want to add to your
No,
final
I mean
thoughts?
basically the same thing. I love this game. It is such a great expression of what board games can be, and just the fact that people can get so invested in this game. It can be bad sometimes, but I think it's just an attribute of just having so much in there that I really enjoy it. So
Okay. Pretty much everything that both of you just said is exactly why I disagree with Jeff. The fact that I only see this game 2, 3, maybe 4 times a year is the only reason that I still play it. I do really like this game. It is too much of a time and emotional investment. I would get sick of this game if I played it more than, once every few months.
Yeah.
Tops.
no, I agree with that.
I couldn't.
Like I could tell you right now, after the game we had on Saturday, I do not want to play this game again for at least 6 months. Like, it's going to be a long time before I'm willing to give up an entire Saturday for Twilight Imperium. And I won.
Yeah.
I ended up winning, and I still don't want to play this game for a while. We've discussed a little bit off air how doing the podcast and objectively thinking about games and what I like about games and why I like those things has definitely shifted the things that I enjoy in board games. Like, it's before, when I didn't really think about it, like sometimes I'd be like, oh, I didn't really care for that game, but whatever. I just chalk it up to that one unique experience rather than something in the game that I didn't enjoy. Now that I've started talking about board games more on the podcast and really taking the time to think about why I didn't enjoy a certain playthrough or what I didn't enjoy about a playthrough, it has definitely slipped a little, especially again after this most recent playthrough, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. I do still really, I in the heat of the moment on Saturday, I said that I don't think I want to play this anymore. I don't think that's true. I think you give me 6 months. You give me a little bit of time. Let me flush out the bad.
I was in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just
let
me forget about what happened. I will play again.
But it is because, like I mentioned earlier, during like the gameplay and everything, like this game draws me in, man. I feel I get really I get invested in dry Euros.
Yeah.
Let alone a game that is just dripping with theme like Twilight Imperium. So I get way invested, and things can get a little personal.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
And so yeah, playing it once, twice a year, that's fine by me at this point. I do still think it is a good game. I think that it's definitely, for what it does, like you guys said, there is nothing close that I've experienced.
Yeah.
I do love Eclipse. You guys mentioned that, and especially being the Euro guy that I am, I wish I could get Eclipse to the table as often as I see Twilight Imperium, because I've played Eclipse. I've owned Eclipse basically since I got into board gaming. My brother bought it for me my birthday 3 months after I started the game night.
Right.
So I've had that game for almost 4 years, and I've played it maybe 3 times. Whereas I've played Twilight Imperium 6, 7 times. Yeah, I do. If you are willing to commit a day to a game, and you're willing to get invested, and you're willing to dig into what this game has to offer, I think it does have something to offer.
And make sure everybody knows what you're getting into.
Absolutely. You need to be clear with people.
Don't trick anyone into playing Twilight Imperium.
That will not end well. Everybody who plays needs to be on board.
Yep.
And this is a game where if somebody needs to drop out, it's not a game it's not gonna ruin the game. It could unbalance it a little bit, depending on how many people you're playing with, because all of a sudden somebody might have an opponent that's not playing next to them, and they can give them some free expansion room.
Yeah.
But, other players just need to be aware of that. But if somebody wants to quit, feel free to let them drop out. If they realize this game isn't for them, especially if it's a new player,
Yeah.
it's going to be better for them to leave and then just and have them just leave their ships on the table and their ships fight. It's just somebody else rolls for them.
Yep.
And have those those are just AI ships essentially. That's going to be better than forcing somebody who does not want to play this game to play it for 6, 7, 8, however many hours.
Yeah.
That will ruin a game. So,
and I'll also say this. I've noticed that it's funny, like, for how much fighting seems to be sort of promoted in this game. Anytime that I've had a chance at winning to this game is when I wasn't fighting. And it seems like I've noticed I've noticed at least once where someone just started attacking someone off the bat. And then it was basically those people just couldn't, like, all they focused on was fighting each other. Like, they were, at the end of the game, they had 2, maybe 3 points. So it's definitely, it's just basically, even though you can do a lot of fighting, it's a lot of times you're building up forces so people don't have to fight. And the times that I've won, it's usually like, okay, well, I have to attack you in order for me to win. So I'm going to do that now.
Yeah, you don't want to get wrapped up in combat, but. All right.
There's so much more to do.
Yeah.
Fight about politics instead.
Exactly.
So, all right. So that is the review portion of this Twilight Imperium episode.
Yes.
Essentially, even with it dropping a little bit in my standings, I do still really like this game. I highly recommend it. Zach and Jeff, I assume for you guys, it's still in your top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you can actually buy it.
Yes.
It is available. Yes. Like I said, the expansions might be hard to come by, but
Yeah, not been a reprint in those in a while, but they usually come up every once in a while.
Yep. So
Unless they're going to make a 4th edition.
I hope
That'd be
so.
awesome
We can hope, but-
at Gen Con. Just be like, surprise, 4th edition of
Oh my
Twilight Imperium.
God.
Everybody would just,
$150, please.
yeah. They would need to bring out so many janitors from everybody just collectively shitting their pants.
That vendor hall would stink.
Yeah.
All right. I know we mentioned at the beginning of the episode that we would do for our discussion, a discussion of our most recent playthrough of Twilight Imperium that we did on Saturday, which is heavily alluded to. However, we're running a bit long for this episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this into 2 parts. We are going to just wrap up with emails and regular closing stuff. And then there will be a separate file that will be available for download. That will be a discussion of our most recent playthrough of Twilight Imperium. In case that's something that interests you and you want to listen to the raucous 11.5-hour shit show that was or our discussion of the raucous 11 hours. You don't have to listen to the entire 11.5-hour playthrough. That would be ridiculous. But if you want to listen to our discussion about it, some of the things that came up, Zach's most favorite, least favorite political cards, some of the big rules discussions / arguments / fisticuffs that weren't actual fisticuffs that we had over this one, all that stuff. It'll be in a short little addendum episode, essentially, that will also be available for download when this releases.
Mostly because we don't want a 2.5-hour long episode.
Yeah, and we figured that there's a fair enough people who might not care about the actual playthrough now that the review's done, and I don't know. So it's there if you want to listen to it. If not,
Especially because, like you said, we sort of alluded to the playthrough itself.
a lot of So there we go. On to emails. As we mentioned earlier, we had one email from Andrew about the mentioning the names at the beginning and the end of the Kickstarter description so that he could follow what the Kickstarter was after he heard all the awesomeness about it. We also, because this was a big week for emails, have a couple more emails going. So, Jeff, you want to take off with those?
We've had a glut of emails this week.
3 is a glut, FYI.
Yes.
No need to,
It's like 3,000%.
Yeah.
We have an email from Patrick.
So before you get into this one, so Patrick, in this case, is Patrick Hillier, the Over the Hillier Gamer from What Did You Play This Week podcast, which was the other thing we didn't really talk about during the banter. We did we recorded a Meet the Gamer segment with them that will air later in the month.
Around the 21st, I think.
Yeah, I think that's
Just
what
in
he
time
said.
for Christmas.
It'll, open to change, but yeah, he said he's shooting for the 21st.
Gotcha.
We will keep you listeners updated when that actually releases in case you don't follow the What Did You Play This Week podcast. If you don't, personally, I like it. So I would recommend checking it out.
I've only had a chance to really listen to one so far, and I enjoyed it. So,
But so he's been listening to our episodes for a little while here as we were leading up to this recording, and in the wake
it's
of the
glad to see
recording-
that he was listening to us and then was like, "You guys can still come on."
You're not too awful.
His mistake.
So anyway, moving on. Here's the email from Patrick.
Patrick says, I like your review of Brewster's Millions. I mean, Last Will. I've not played it in a long time. I seem to recall the rules explanation of all those icons took more time than the game itself, which is very true.
Yeah. It is surprisingly a short game for a Euro-y game. So.
Yes.
My buddy who had it moved, so I sort of forgot about it, but not necessarily because of gameplay. I too like the mix. I too like to mix up Cult of Established with my Cult of the New plays.
Yes.
I heard about a newish game where you terraform Mars. Can you discuss it some time?
Yeah. We'll get another 30-minute segment about it right now.
So we've already been discussing, the fact that we reviewed Terraforming Mars, but I feel like we still just need to review Terraforming Mars.
Yes.
Not because we need to discuss anything new about it, but because I make it a point to play every review game 3 or 4 times, and I haven't played Terraforming Mars recently, and so doing another review would give me another excuse to play it 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I'm on board with that.
High level review.
So thank you, Patrick, for giving us another reason to play a lot of that really obscure, not well known, mediocre game, Terraforming Mars.
And behind the scenes, a lot of times when we're going, okay, we need to play this copy for review, or we could just play Terraforming Mars again.
But Jeff brought Terraforming Mars.
It's like I could easily see one of those they're some of the worst memes I've ever seen in my life. But those little Kermit with light side and dark side Kermits, I could totally see that. We need to review Feast for Odin for our upcoming review, or we could play Terraforming Mars. Damn it, no. So,
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, thank you very much. We do still love Terraforming Mars, and it will come up, I'm sure, on a future, maybe end of review type episode.
End of year,
maybe.
Yeah.
What'd I say?
End of review.
End of year review. Yeah,
a year in review.
We have another email from Chris. It says, "Hey,
hi, Chris.
I feel bad when the only emails you have /read tell you stuff you are doing wrong. So great show, guys. Apparently, I'm the only one who actually likes your show. Remember that when you are rich and famous, sitting on your ivory tower made of board game money. I am currently sitting on an ivory tower of board games made of money. It's different. I spend money and buy board games that I sit on the throne.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The throne is not made of money from board games.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
It's made from board games that you spent all of your money on.
Yes.
So Chris is close to right. I'm pretty sure that Mike down in Colorado Springs still actually likes the podcast. I haven't heard from him in a little while, but we've got 2.
Yep.
2 legitimate fans.
And the hater hasn't even shown up in weeks.
Month?
It's been the last email we got from the hater was sorry for being such a flake, which is an awfully not hater thing to say.
The Lisboa.
Yeah, the Lisboa.
Yeah.
Which was really only the 28th of November.
So maybe the worm has turned on the emails telling us how awful we are.
Our next email is going to be from him or her telling us how terrible we are.
You remember, you can always focus that towards Adrian. So
that's what we do.
Yeah.
I remember those can be sent to emails@milehighgameguys.com.
Yes, we also do have individual emails if you actually want to direct hate at a specific one of us.
Privately message.
It's whatever our names are, Adrian, Jeff, or Zach at milehighgameguys.com.
I should make one that's just whatever your name is.
We are also on Twitter. I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am at Zach_MHGG.
Jeff_MHGG.
We are on Facebook /Mile High Game Guys, and we are Board Game Geek Guild number 2731, the Mile High Game Guys. Feel free to use any and or all of those venues to get a hold of us and tweet us things that you like and or dislike or whatever.
Adrian doesn't have anything to do at work, so he just sits on Twitter all day.
God, I wish. I mean, I do.
Are you sure you weren't talking about me?
Yeah, that's totally Zach. I get little spurts.
The only thing I can do at work is delete all of the Twitter emails I get from both of you being on Twitter.
Also, we haven't really pushed this at all, but I'm going to start a little bit maybe now that we're getting into almost 25 episodes. We greatly would appreciate reviews on Stitcher, iTunes, whatever your podcast method of downloading of choice is. those kind of reviews, they get us bumped up a little bit, help us show up a little bit higher in search results, spread us to a little bit wider audience, which, if you like us, then maybe other people would too. So jump over to iTunes or Stitcher and give us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. So
I can only make so many anonymous accounts.
I'm pretty sure Twitter or iTunes has figured out that, Jeff 1, Jeff 2, Jeff 3 are all just the same person.
JJ1, JJ2.
There are many anonymous accounts.
But thanks for listening in. Like I said, there will be an additional episode available for download alongside this one. That will be our discussion of our specific playthrough from this last weekend of Twilight Imperium 3rd edition with both expansions. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and tune in next week to another exciting episode of the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Mechatol Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.